Hello and welcome to this first webcast in a series of webcasts looking at RapidDeploy version 4.0. Today we're going to start with the basics and we're going to download RapidDeploy 4.0. We're going to install it, we're going to load a project into the RapidDeploy 4.0 and then we're going to run a simple deployment. Okay. So let's get started. First of all, we're going to go to the Midvision portal site where we can find the downloads. So we click here on the RapidDeploy button and here you can see the various versions that you can download. It's interesting to note that you can also download agents for a variety of different targets from this link, and you can download some demo projects to get you started in various technologies in this link here. So I'm running on a Mac, so I'm going to download the Linux 64-bit distribution, and we simply click here to do that download. Now that takes a while, so I've already downloaded it here in my downloads directory. So I'm just simply going to double click on this to install it. It's being extracted. Okay, and this creates a folder here. Here we have bin directory. We have some shell scripts that enable us to just run this application. Okay, now back on the downloads panel we have a quick start guide here. And this really explains this in a little more detail. But for Mac users, there's one little extra thing we need to run. So I'm going to follow the instructions here. I'm going to go to this directory. And then I'm going to run the commands that it recommends. And this really just sets it up for use specifically with a Mac. If you're not using a Mac, if you're using just basic Linux or Windows, then you don't need to do any of these steps. Okay, so now I'm simply going to start up the web app. Okay, and that web app is now starting up. So now we'll go to the browser. We'll go to localhost 9090 Midvision. And here we are ready to log into our new installation of RapidDeploy. Okay, and here I am now logged into the main screen. A couple of things to note. Down here you can see the version 4.02. So we're on the 4.02 version, and on the bottom right here you can see that this says Community Edition. Now with the Community Edition we're entitled to install up to 5 nodes for free forever, but if you want to go to more nodes then you need to buy additional licenses, and you can just add licenses as you wish. But for now we can continue with just 5 nodes. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is install a demo project. So that's very easy to do. We can go to Resources, Projects, and we can just upload a demo project. Now what we're going to do today is we're going to briefly go over what a project is and how you can define new projects and what you can do with projects. Okay, so first of all let's go and find a demo project. So the first demo project I'm actually going to install is this Introduction to File System Operations demo. This is a very simple project. I'm going to just click on there. I've got the Introduction to File System Operations demo, and I can just click on this link here to download that project into my downloads folder. Now you can go ahead and read through all of this. It explains how this project works. And there's a particularly useful link at the bottom here which shows you, or explains and explores, the file system demo project. Now I'm not going to go through this specifically today, but I just want to point that out to you so that you have an opportunity later on to come back and read through that section, which will probably help you understand that project. Okay, so let's upload that project that we've just downloaded. File system demo 40, this is the one we've just downloaded. I'm going to open that, import it. And this shows a useful feature right off the bat in that in RapidDeploy 4.0 and also in earlier versions, you can, with any of your projects, you can export and import them into other versions or other installations of RapidDeploy. And you can even export and import all projects. And therefore you can use this as a way of migrating between RapidDeploy instances, or sharing them with colleagues who might have their own RapidDeploy instance, or for backup or migration purposes. So when we do the project import, we get the option to change some of the parameters at the time we do the import. But we're going to just leave these parameters as they are on the first page. Here I'm going to change the project root directory, and we can see where we're installed here. So our working directory for our installation of RapidDeploy is this, and this is what we call the MV home directory. So I'm just going to add that into there. And again here, do the same thing. Now if you've installed it in /rd, that's fine. That's just where this demo project was created. The rest of it you can more or less leave as it was. Now I'm going to import this project. Okay. So now we can see that we get some information message here. So the project was imported. It's saying it's imported a server and an environment. It's imported some class paths. Okay, so what does all of that mean? Well, here we have this file system demo project. Let's go ahead and edit it. When you edit a project, you come to this panel, which is the General tab, and it shows some general information about the project. You get the name, a short description. A project can have an owner, which must be a user within RapidDeploy. In this case it's MVAdmin, it's the only user that's currently set up in this installation. It's a brand new installation. We specify a log directory where this project's logs will be written to. An orchestration file name, we can ignore this, it just remains as default, but that's for more advanced use, you can change that file name. Are we allowed to run deployment jobs from this project? By default, yes we are. We then have two other panels down here. The plugin file transfer panel tells us that when we're transferring deployment artifacts to target servers, what plugins we should transfer along with those to the targets. We're going to always transfer the orchestration, which is the base framework jar, and we're then going to transfer the generic environment file system plugin because that's the one we're using in this particular demo. The resource list enables us to add external resources to our deployment package either at package time or at deploy time, so we can pull things that we want to consume from anywhere, from a file system, from a remote Maven repository, from an SCM tool, from anywhere at the time that we create our deployment package or at the time that we run our deployment package on a target server. We'll go into that in more detail in a later webinar. We then have the Orchestration tab, and this tab gives us the list of tasks that will be run on all target servers that this project is used to deploy to. So these tasks are environment neutral, and I'll show you in a later webinar how we make these environment neutral across different target environments. But for now we can just have a look at some of these. The first one is a disk space check task. We can see that this is just checking that when we run our job, the first thing we do is that we make sure that there is 500 megabytes of free space in the temp directory. And you just hover over some of these, you will always get some sort of help, context-sensitive help, to explain what these particular fields mean. Clicking on this one we can see. You also can click on the task help up here, and this will give you more detailed help on each of the fields. Okay. The next task is a wget task. You can see the class name here. This is the name of the task in the RapidDeploy task palette. You can give it any other name you like, and here you can see we've got this checked. We can change that name, and we can click on the tick box if we wish to. So the wget task enables us to download using effectively wget from any URL. We can specify the URL, where we want to write it to. If we need a username and password, we can specify that. If we need proxy settings to get from our network onto the internet, we can specify those. And there are some other settings we can set here. Okay, but what we're doing here is we're just basically downloading a zip file. This is the second demo, the script demo. We're going to download that and just manipulate it using the following tasks. So the next task in this task list is going to create a directory or a folder in /temp/demo project. We're then going to check in the next task that this folder is writable, and then we're going to check that the demo project that we downloaded is read writable, and then we're going to move that demo40 zip file into the demo project directory. We're then going to unzip it into this directory, so temp demo project script demo, and we're then going to copy that whole directory into a copy folder. Now you might be asking, why are we doing all these things? And this is really just to demonstrate some basic tasks that you can run in RapidDeploy that you could run on any server, and these don't have any specific environment values. We'll come to those in a later demo. We're now going to change the permission on a particular file in that demo copy to 777. And then we're going to copy that demo project to a copy2 target folder, but this time we're going to use a file set includes. This is an ant idea an ant style file set. So what we're going to say here is copy script demo to script demo 2, copy 2, but in this case only copy files that are in any directory but end in .xml. And then we're going to check that by checking that, for example, in demo copy 2 we have midvision deploy orchestration.xml is present. We're then going to check to prove that only the XML files were copied, that a log4j.properties file that is in the script demo is not copied into the demo2 copy. The next set of tasks are going to perform some tokenizations or search and replacements. The first one is going to do a search replace in the temp demo project script demo copy2 folder. And this shows how we can add entries to tasks. So it's possible to add a number of entries. In this particular task, search replace task, we're taking property entries and we're looking for this particular key in this first property called working dir, and we're replacing it with change dir. So this task is going to search all files with these extensions underneath this directory, and wherever it finds working dir, it's going to replace it with change dir. Now we can add new properties here. I'm not going to do that at this moment, so that we can add additional search and replacements. And this is then shown in the next search replace. We're now searching for 3 different things, same directory, same file extensions, but we're searching for different keys and replacing them with different values. Now this might be something that we want to change on an environment specific basis. So we might want to search for things and change them to something depending on the environment. We'll come to that later. At the moment this is just doing a very literal search and replace of a key with a value. Then the third one, we're doing embedded keys. And what this is doing is it's showing that where the key is, some of the keys are substrings of longer keys. So here you can see that the longest key is target relative to operation dir. The next one is relative to operation dir, and then relative to. So this last key is a subset of this key, and this key is a substring of both this key and this key. We want to make sure that the replacement happens in the right order, i.e. the longest key is always replaced first, followed by the shorter keys, so that a key that is short is not, so what we want to avoid is for this rep3.shortest to get replaced into this relative to in this key before this key gets searched. So it's important that we do the search replace in the right order. This is just demonstrating that. The next task is doing an XPath replacement. You can see here, again, we're searching the same directory structure recursively. We're looking for any files that end in .xml, and we're using this time the type of entry is an XPath entry, and we're looking for this XPath expression, and where this XPath expression is satisfied, we're going to change the value to this. And then the final task is a cleanup task. It's just going to delete temp demo project. At the moment this task is disabled. We can just enable that task by clicking. So all of these tasks can be enabled or disabled simply by clicking on the arrow. Once we've made some changes, we need to save the project. You click save here. You can either click save, which case it will save the project and take you back to the projects list, or save and continue, which will save and leave you in this project but in view mode. I don't really need to change any of the values, so I'm just going to cancel out of here, and that would then take us back to the project. Okay, so we've seen the General tab and the Orchestration tab. We have an Scm Repository tab, which enables us to store all of the artifacts or all of the files for this project in an Scm repository. So the Scm repository can back the RapidDeploy project. In this case, we're effectively using no Scm because we're just using the basic file system for this demo. And we can see where that's actually being stored. We can have an artifact repository. Now an artifact repository can be one of many different artifacts repositories. It can be a local file system, it can be Maven or Nexus or Artifactory. The artifact repository enables us to store the packages that are created from this project. Now a package is a point in time zip file or tar file or jar file or whatever you want of this project and all of its dependencies. So those dependencies can be anything under the project directory, or any external resources as I identified on the General tab that you pull in at package time. Now, I've not gone into that in any great detail today. As I said before, we're going to look at that a little later. And then the next tab, this is really quite key, is the Targets tab. Now, this tab enables us to link our project and our orchestration, which is our environment neutral set of tasks to run, as I've already shown, with a target environment. Okay, now an environment or environments live on a server. So from here I can click localhost Linux. This has all been imported when I imported the project. So when you import a project, it imports its dependencies, which includes any resources that it might be using, any servers, any environments. Okay, so, and I can also go and look at the environment. Now, we can add a new environment here, or we can create a template from a snapshot of an environment that we've pulled a snapshot from. Let's go and take a look at this file system environment. There's nothing really very interesting in the case of a file system. We can go and look at the, I'm going to go into edit mode to make it clearer for you to see. If we look at the product here, we can see that it's a file system product. So RapidDeploy supports multiple product plugins, which will show up on this environment panel. Now in this one, I've got these plugins installed. Now, here we have the install path on the target. Now we need to fill that in. In this case, we don't really need to. Where we're going to store the snapshots when we pull a snapshot from this environment, what will be included in the snapshot, what will be excluded from the snapshot. Now we don't need to go into environments in any great detail today. What we do need to look at though is the target server. So where are we going to run this deployment? So we're going to run it on localhost. This is pre-configured for us. And we're going to use the RapidDeploy agent. That's also pre-configured. We can test the connection to this agent. We can see actually that we couldn't get a connection to the server, and that's because we didn't start the agent. So I'm now actually going to start the remoting server. Okay, so that server has now been started. You can use in RapidDeploy either an agent or you can use SSH. Today I'm going to use the agent on localhost. There's always one installed when you download the Midvision RapidDeploy 4.0 application. By default, it listens on port 20000. You can specify multicast or point-to-point. You can specify SSL connection or none. At the moment, we're just going to use an open connection. We can see which projects are consuming this or using this target server. We can see there's just the file system demo, and we can see which environments. It's the file system environment. Okay, so the next thing we need to do is create a package to deploy, and that's the next tab here, packages. So if I go into edit mode, I can simply click the create package. There is a wizard that enables me to create a package and change some of the defaults, like for example we could choose tar or jar or a different archive type, but by default it was going to create a zip file. So I'm just going to go ahead and create the package. Now that also runs as a job in the background, so you don't immediately see it here, but if you click refresh, then we'll see that package has been created. Now the reason that that runs as a job in the background is because if you're using external resources, then they may need to be downloaded into the package, and that may take some time. So we don't want to have to wait around for that to happen. So it's happening as a background job. Okay, so what we can do now is we can run a deployment. So we can do that in one of several ways. We can go to Jobs, New Job, and run a job from there. We can go onto our targets and click Run. And what this will do is it will request a one-click job against this environment or this target with the latest package that has been created. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go to Jobs, New Job. And here we select our project. And then we select which server we want to do the deployment on, which environment, and which application. And you just click on the application and it gets copied across. And when we've got many projects, each with one or many environments, we can select multiple projects, multiple environments, and create a deployment plan. But for today, we are just going to deploy this single project, single orchestration at the one version we've created. Now it will automatically select, when you click Next, the correct or latest version. In this case we only have one version, and there are a number of other configuration properties here you can set. We'll cover those in a later webinar. And I can just now click Skip to Finish, Next, and now I'm on the confirmation page. So we don't need to worry about any of these. We'll cover these in a later tutorial. We can save this as a job plan, which in this case would be probably quite pointless. Or we can start the job. And then this takes us to the running jobs panel. There may be many running jobs happening in parallel. Of course, we've only got one today. We're the only people using it. Now you can see here that we had a progress bar here. We have a progress bar here. This changes color depending on the status. We can see here that we've had multiple jobs that have run. One has gone red. All of those tasks have completed. Now we could have looked in real time at the logging output, but it was too quick to run that job, so we couldn't see it. Okay, now after a while that leaves the running jobs panel, but we can always go to the previous jobs page. And there are two tabs here. There are project jobs and other jobs. If we just click on other jobs, we'll see that the package creation that we ran earlier, we highlight over here, we'll see it's a package job. This ran successfully when we created the package. You can always, under the actions, check the log file of these jobs. So we can see here the log file for the project file system demo 40. We can see it started the package creation, it built the jar file. There were no external resources to pull in, so it was very quick to run in under a second, and that was completed. Okay, if we go to the project jobs now and we look at the project job, we can see that it completed. It was 100%, it was successful. Okay, we also have the ability to replay or rerun this job if it was successful. We don't need to do that today. So what we're going to do today is we're just going to view the log, and we can do that in two ways. We can either view it through the browser, or we can download the log file and view it through our favorite editor. Right now I'm just going to view it through the browser. Okay, and this is what our standard job log file will look like. Now we can change the logging levels of this log file so that we can get more or less logging. Typically by default, logging is set to debug, so you get quite verbose logging. This is the job number 2. The first job was the package job. Every job has a job ID. So where did we run from? What was the project, server, the environment, the application, which user ran the job, and which version did we deploy? Now here at the top of the job log we can see the file transfer copy taking place. You can see the copy will take place to remote servers. Now if, for example, we're deploying to a server we've already deployed to, and it already has the correct versions of the plugins on that server, then a checksum check will be done, and those plugin components will not be copied again. Similarly for the deployment package, if we're deploying the same package to the same server, say to a different environment, and it already exists, and it has the same checksum, it won't be copied again. So there's an amount of checksum checking going on here. And then the job is started. And here we can see the job being started. We can see the first task being called. And this is unzipping the file, the package, on the target, and we can see all of the plugins that we have and what version they're on to enable debugging if something should go wrong. We can then see the first task being run, the disk-space check task. This is checking. We can see the resources that it's pulling in, the 500 megabytes /temp, the directory to check. We're seeing the free bytes in temp are this, 3 megabytes is this, so the free space is sufficient. Okay, that job task was completed successfully. We then move on to the wget task. I'm not going to bore you with the details of all of these tasks. Feel free to look through all of this at your leisure when you download and run this yourself. But the wget task, we can see it's pulling down from this site this file and placing it in /temp/script demo. And we can see a job making a directory and so on. We can see all of the various tasks running in order. We'll scroll right down to the bottom now. We can see that the finalization task is running. The finalization task will clean up. You can specify what gets left and what gets cleaned up of the orchestration job after it's run. But basically it will delete the archive, the expanded archive that's placed on the target. It won't delete the actual archive. You can tell it to keep the expanded archive, and if you wish, using the retain expanded archive property. And that's usually used if you want to debug what actually happened. So that's a look at the log file. So if you want to download more projects, you can just download those and upload them into this RapidDeploy. We will be adding to this RapidDeploy installation later on with some additional projects, and we'll be able to see how we can do more activities on here. We can see which plugins we have installed by going to the plugin manager. You can see that these are the plugins. We can change here the number that we show per page. So here we see the plugins that are automatically installed. Okay, so I'm going to leave that there because I think that's enough to take in one go. And we'll continue with this series of webinars. The next webinar will look at the Hello World project, where we'll start to introduce the idea of data dictionary values, so environment-specific parameters that can be set on a per environment basis, and running scripts on target servers. So thank you for your attention. My name's Richard Betterson, and I hope you've enjoyed this webcast. Thank you.